All righty, away we go. It is, oops, I'm hearing myself twice here. That's not a good sign. Hang on one second. If I kick you out, then I'll get back in here in a second. Okay, can you still hear me? Can you see me here? Somebody? All right, thank you, Deirdre. Appreciate it. Let me just see here. Deirdre, also, are you seeing, what are you seeing on your screen? You seeing setting financial goals? Nope. Okay, there we go. All right, let's just get that. Sorry, too much tech. Too much tech, too little time. All right, how about now? Oh, yeah, yeah. How about now? You see setting financial goals? Okay, good. All righty. Away we go. Like I said, Wednesday, April 16th of 2025. And this is the Profitable Real Estate Agent Plan course. And obviously, a lot of you are Griffin agents from Washington or here, or you're a guest, whatever it may be. Welcome, welcome, welcome. One of my favorite times of the week because I like talking about the strategies because I am certain when I talk about these strategies and these plans, they really help you because it is what I follow and it really helps me. So just to remind you, this is a 12-week course. We are in week 2. I've been doing some shuffling this time around live as we go around. The first week I decided that I would spend a lot of time talking about the business model that I learned out of Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth, The Entrepreneurial Myth. So if you need to see a recording of that, we do have some recordings here. I will put a link to those recordings. Let me just double check that I have the updated ones, April 9th. Yes. I'm going to give you all in the chat, if I can. Let me just see this. I'm going to give you a link to the recordings file. It's a document called the Profitable Real Estate Agent Plan 2025, and it has recordings in there, okay? And when we started this round, the April 9th video is up already, so you can see that repeat if you want, because I think that's an important one to set this up for you. And I did, at that time, shared the model, the business model, which I'm happy to do again here. But let me just see here. Let me copy this link, put it into the Zoom. So in the chat, I'm going to give you that document, okay? So all of you that are in here on time, grab that document and you can watch week 1 of this round because it was new. It was something I did differently. And this week, I'm going to talk about the financial goals, and then I'm going to get into who you have to become. All of that is really strategic business and leadership vision, and I'm trying to follow the model, which I have never too far from me, and that is the core model that we follow. So I'm trying to revamp this course to follow that. And I talked about it in week 1 so that you knew what I was talking about. Okay. I will also in the chat, let me see that I can maybe attach that for all of you that are on timers. That TRC model, you should print this out and you should put it somewhere where you're thinking about this business. Okay. That's also in there now. Please print that out because I will tell you that is, in fact, I was interviewing a new agent today. And that is the first thing that I go to explain to somebody. When we talk about this systematic approach, I'm following that, right? And there's nothing, you're not going to get some surprise and find out that I do something differently. I teach from a position of doing. I am not a theorist. Well, I am when I first try something, but then I'm a practitioner, and then I make it into a system so that you can all follow it, so that from day one, you are understanding how this works, and you don't have to wait to be successful. You can be successful today. Like we say, it's not someday, it's today, right? When you're following the system. And that's the best part of this. Okay. So this week, as we went from, hey, here's how the business works, and just to recap it in just a few sentences, the business is predicated on the acquisition of listings by listing agents who then put those into an MLS system where they are shared. That's pretty typical for most of the country, other than places like New York City where they don't even have an MLS. So it's the Wild West. So we're blessed to be in an area in Boston and Cape Cod where there are two MLS systems where listings are shared, so that if you have a buyer, you don't have to go hunting and pecking. You can find inventory. But that begs the question, who are the listing agents? And I want that to be all of us. I want us to be primarily focused on the acquisition of listings so that those listings can then be used by us to attract the best buyers. I'm sitting here right at my desk with a whole bunch of sign-in sheets from listings that I get that bring me some of the best buyers that I've ever had. So I do this. It's made my life infinitesimally better because I do not waste time. And that is what this is all about, is time management. When new agents come in, like the gal came in today, I don't know what to do with my time. Good. We have a system. Here's what you're going to do. And then once you get those people, how to manage time with those prospects that lead to a client, that lead to a closing and a happy past client, right? So it's all a system. So when I go over this, please be patient with yourself to understand the first week was explaining the model in its entirety. And now we are in the strategic business vision, where we're talking about, again, if you went into the chat, you can grab this business model. Strategic business vision starts with an overall, how's the business work? Now we go into financial goals. This is a business, you need financial goals. For all you Griffins or TRC members, you have access to a spreadsheet that says GCI goal setting. At the end of my lecture piece of this, I will open one up and you can see it. So we go through it. But my expectation is if you're a Griffin agent, you have access to that GCI goal spreadsheet. You absolutely need to have that. Okay. So I'm going to go through this lecture portion of this first. We'll talk about goal setting, why it's important, and then we'll get into specifically how to break some things down. And then for those of you that are guests that are non-Griffin or non-TRC agents, you get a little sneak peek into how we do what we do. Okay. All right. I am going to start a slideshow, and please somebody tell me that you see setting financial goals up there. Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay. Let's rock and roll with this. So setting financial goals, I don't want to make it complicated when I do this course. So I'm really focused on gross commission income, because when you own one of these businesses, and that's what you all own, you are independent contractors that have partnered with a brokerage who is supposed to be training you, coaching, and mentoring you in some methodology. That's what this is, a methodology. And part of that methodology is to remind you it is a business. And to be a good business owner, the most simple thing that you can do is set the top line. That is your gross revenue. It's got nothing to do with splits. It's all all that conversation. We're just trying to set what I would term a North Star. So let's get into this, right? So setting goals is actually an essential part of building that successful and sustainable, and I'd add predictable real estate business. So number one, you have to understand how goal setting actually works. Why is it so powerful from an actual psychological standpoint? And then you have to identify your specific financial goal by following a simple methodology that I'll get into, okay? So let's talk about goal setting and why it actually works, because I know this might sound pedestrian or simple to you, but it is very important that you understand I programmed my brain to stop making so much noise and dismissing some very basic knowledge that's out there that's universal, it's immutable, and we just behave the way we behave. You can think you have as much control over things as you want to think, but we actually think like these thriving beings, and I'll get into that, right? So goal setting activates the brain's reward system, and it motivates action. This is why you hear me refer to a gross commission income goal as a North Star. Because imagine being lost in the woods and starting your business, but yet you know the North Star is north, and it motivates your action to move in its direction or whatever other direction you're trying to get. So you can see it, and it sets up this reward system that in this case, as you move towards that North Star, there's at least some dopamine and oxytocin and all the good stuff that wants to run through the brain. It actually motivates it because the brain is wired to focus on specific and, more importantly, measurable goals, making it easier to prioritize them. So, one, we have to set goals because it sets up the game, and that will initiate the reward system. But by being very specific with your own brain and then being able to measure that, that's why you're going to see why I set up the GCI goal spreadsheet the way that I did. It's based on these principles. So remember that when we get to it tonight, that you're going to see how specific, and not rocket science specific. We're going to talk about median price. We're going to talk about mean price. We're going to talk about geography, specifically where you want to do business. And then the measurement is every time you do one, did you hit that goal or not? Were you above it, at it, or below it? Very specific. So the brain really knows what's happening. Now, setting goals creates a sense of purpose and direction, right? Because when you ask people, why are they doing all of this? It's sort of that why moment. And that's why I didn't quite start with the psychology of who you have to become first. I started more so with just generally understanding that this is a business, it works a certain way, and we've modeled that. And then there's a financial goal, and your purpose inside of that for yourself is to hit this gross goal so that you can net what you want, so that you don't have to go take the part-time job at Starbucks per se, right? It gives you this complete autonomy and freedom to run this independent contractor business, right? And it gives you that direction, that clarity. Again, I'm thinking of Christine, who was just sitting here an hour ago, and she's enthusiastic, just like I remember Deidre for the first time. They're enthusiastic, but you don't know what direction to point yourself in. And that's how we start to reduce the stress and anxiety. And we create this sense of well-being. Now, again, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to patronize the brains in this room and say this is easy. I'm not saying that. And Deirdre, it'll be interesting to hear, because you're early on in this, how you felt being able to specifically focus on that guy in Duxbury, how to specifically focus on those people that came to the open house over in Mashpee. We'll have her come in here as it relates to this setting of goals and then being able to prioritize them, right? Now, the brain responds positively to clear and achievable goals. Achievable is a key word here. When we get into goal setting, I don't let people run roughshod with it and say, I want to make $100,000. I want to make $50,000. I remember very clearly being when I worked at a big coaching company back in the early 2000s to, let's see, up to 2012. We would have 200 people in a room, up to maybe even more than that. I'm trying to think at the peak of 2003 when everybody wanted to be a realtor. We just had, I think, 1,000 people in the room. And so you would walk into this lobby and they would know me as one of the speakers. And, they'd come up to me asking me questions. And I would just ask them a simple question. Well, what's your expectation? How much money? Oh, I'm going to make $1 million. Really? That's a pretty big number. How much do you make right now? Well, I just got my license. Okay, well, don't do that to yourself, I would say. Don't do that. Don't say something so ridiculous that it's defeatist. Yes, you can build a model to see what it would take to gross $1 million, not net $1 million first, but to gross it. Sure, I can model that with you for you, but why don't you just be realistic, and why don't you make some clear and achievable goals so that when you understand the reward system and you're more specific and it's measurable and it gives you purpose and direction, then it's clear and achievable. See, people would get upset with me as if I was putting them down. I was trying to give them a slap upside the head and say, be realistic, because you can start with a very straightforward average. See, our business and that multiple listing service, also known as our marketplace, gives us a tremendous amount of statistical data. And data just doesn't lie to you, assuming it hasn't been cheated and messed with, which for the large part, our data is we're just kind of tracking what actually happens, and you have to provide information to the source MLS to show them that this is really what happened, right? So the data is pretty darn good. So we really know where average and median prices are and how many days on the market. It's incredible. on and on and on statistically how much information we have to educate ourselves so that we can set up these clear targets, right? And by getting very clear and achievable goals, this is where you'll hear me quip and joke about being a dopamine junkie. Because every time we have a clear goal and we achieve it, there is a big release of dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter that helps to improve mood, memory, and focus. All of the above. Sounds pretty good. So I'm going to give you one of my own anecdotes right now. I have a whole bunch of beautiful listings. I had a couple of really big sales at the beginning of the year. One of them $5 million that's going to close in June 1st or sooner. And so I had a lot of dopamine rushing through. And then we had all this noise in the economy about tariffs, and it confused a lot of people and it made people cautious, and it's still kind of going on right now. And we're trying to sort it out. So it got a little bit more difficult. And I wasn't getting the regular dopamine hit that the realtor salesperson in me needs. Forget about the person talking to you tonight as the coach strategist type of person. I am still a realtor. And when it comes to those weekends, I want to get high on dopamine because it absolutely improves my mood. And yes, it makes me sharper. And I was kind of grumpy for a couple of weeks there. And then I got a property that I knew I could probably sell pretty quickly. I went in, I did my open house. I met somebody, a young couple that were there before anybody else, and we put a deal together. And I felt a lot better, right? Because as they say in sports, I got off the schneid and I scored again. So it's amazing how clear that the acquisition of a listing, and it is at right about the median price, and it fits right into my model, right at that number. My brain knows measurably that is exactly bare minimum where I want to be. So I feel good about it. In fact, I got an extra half a point through negotiation. I got an extra half a point on my side, so I made 3%. And my model calls for just about $750,000 or $765-ish, depending on where we are at the time, at 2.5%. So my brain releases this incredible dopamine to say, this is right on the minimum target. Good. We got some bombs coming in the future. We have some great listings that are close, right? But I was able to achieve something clear. It was very achievable to get that done and measurable. And now I'm going into this weekend with another listing at $999 that I think is as achievable as this one. And even though I have to pay a referral fee on it, it will be very close to still that base deal that I'm trying to achieve very clearly, right? So you see, all of this is very real. All of these things are real for me, and I'm the teacher of this system. But remembering that I went through all of this studying of goal setting and how it actually works, so that when I articulate this to you, I'm not winging it. I'm not making it up. I know how the brain works as it relates to a reward system. And then that's just simply being applied to real estate rewards, which is the achievement of a sale. But of course, before all the GCI or the gross commission happens, there is an enormous amount of discussion in this course about how to actually go pursue the correct type of lead, how to make that person a unique selling proposition offer, making sure that person's correct. All of that's in this course, of course. But we start with that North Star so that we know what we're aiming for, so that as I give you an anecdote tonight, I can be extremely specific 24 hours from having just done one of these deals that released dopamine back into my brain as a realtor. And the strategist in me who put together this for that person to go sell it, that kind of bipolar part of my personality, both of them are happy today because the strategist hit the minimum goal and then some, and the dopamine addict got high by selling a house. That's how it works, right? No rocket science to this. Now, by breaking down these large goals, okay, I want to do these number of tens of thousands of dollars, by breaking those goals into smaller goals per transaction and more manageable steps, the brain is better equipped to achieve them. And this goes back to my anecdote about being a coach, being in a room with hundreds of people, having people just make up this big North Star without any kind of sense of achievability. Because what that does is it actually shuts you down, because then you go and you hear these ideas and you try to implement them and you get frustrated and you stop. Then all of a sudden, this is such a burden that I've seen just enormous amounts of people come into the business, and it's like a revolving door. They spin right out. They had great intentions, but nobody ever slowed them down and explained how the business works and how goal setting within that for you really works. You have to be disciplined in setting that up, right? Now, visualizing, like an athlete, the end result of a goal helps the brain to create a roadmap for achieving it and provides a sense of clarity and focus. Okay. So when we get into the mindset, which will be strategic leadership, that you're going to be leading yourself and you're going to have to create a certain persona. We'll talk about that next week. But in this case, I want you to understand before I get there, and I'll talk more specifically about it, your subconscious brain is astoundingly proficient at creating a roadmap, even if it doesn't know how. Let that sink in for a second, okay? Even when your brain doesn't know how, now I'm giving you one, so I'm trying to be tactically and strategically specific with you, but even when it doesn't know how, your subconscious has access to so much information it's stumbled upon that it can actually create a roadmap and help you achieve clarity and focus. Now, of course, the cheat code is being here with me and learning how I do it, because I'm saving you enormous amounts of time in having your subconscious find you the resources, and then you have to put them in the right order. I'm doing that for you so that we can speed this up and you can get your synapses to say, oh, there is a roadmap for me. And I like that. My brain likes that. That's clear already. So we're trying to say, here's why we give you the pieces we give you, because it's a mega shortcut. You could go off and figure this all out on your own, but here I am, 25 years later, having assimilated all of this information, curated it in the world, organized it, and productized it in a course for you so that you can follow it, right? Goal setting requires the use of the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making and planning. I mean, think about how many, like I'm going through point by point by point by point. I'll tell you where I got a lot of this information in a second here. But the prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain that makes all the decision-making and planning, right? So the goal triggers that, right? You have to have that. That's the fuel for this machine to go into action, which when trained can improve cognitive function and enhance overall productivity, right? So reviewing progress towards goals helps to keep the brain engaged and motivated towards achieving them. Now, I'll take a pause there. And that word progress, I'm going to relate it to prospects. Because before you ever get a client and a sale that becomes a past client, the progress has a lot to do with the creation of prospects. Now, of course, in the business model, which I talked about, you have this flow along this assembly line. And what's flowing is a contact, a person's name, their email address, their telephone number, and their mailing address. That's the product base that's following along. And everybody obsesses about the word lead, which we talk about hiding in plain sight everywhere. That's just a contact where you don't know why they want to sell / or buy and how motivated they are to do so. Right? So progress starts with, number one, being able to identify the best type of contact who's a lead and turn it into a real prospect that has a why and a motivation. That's progress even in the first step in the conversion module, right? That's what it is. It's that kind of progress that keeps you engaged. But if you think you're just going to skim the cream and you're going to go do an open house at one of my listings and you're just going to grab somebody and take somebody, you will find out very quickly that progress doesn't come from over pursuing prospects. And there's a great idea, concept that says prospects pursued, run away. And I call that, when you don't know what you're doing, your default mechanism is to try to take. And progress in this methodology is all about giving. So I want you to keep that in mind when we talk about goals, that you can find that you will achieve a sale the more you give with the least amount of resistance doing it that way. Okay? Let that sink in. And that's going to keep you engaged, because if you trust me and you trust these laws, these immutable laws of the way goal setting and the law of reciprocity works, it's stunning how much better you feel because you're engaged, and it keeps you motivated to keep trying even when you don't succeed. So celebrating small wins along the way helps reinforce positive behavior, leading to a more significant sense of achievement and satisfaction, even when you don't sell anything yet. Okay. And I'm going to use Deirdre tonight to go through that a little bit as I dialogue with her about 3 different parties that she's talking to, so we can really celebrate that kind of small win with you live, and you can see it here, right? Goal setting can lead to the development of new habits and skills. This is the most important part of why all of this, which can lead to long-term personal and professional growth. See, what I say to people is, when you understand that this is a methodology, that you follow it, your synapses will not really be that connected. Okay. You sort of get it. And you listen to me to begin with. You're like, oh, that makes sense. That's what Christine just said today. Well, this makes a lot of sense. I've had venture capitalists say to me, I don't want to insult you, but this is organized common sense. That's beautiful. You understand me. You don't insult me. You understand me, right? Because what happens is it makes common sense, but you have to make it your own. So by continuously moving towards a North Star, even when you get blown off course, you start to build those habits. And in those habits, you're becoming more skillful because you're repeating some basic things that we teach you over and over. So the skill is going along with this habitual performance, because you're not winging it and you're not being led off course by all the, the gurus online. Oh, I'm killing it with this. Try this. It's nonsense, right? Take it from somebody who actually sells stuff and actually coaches how he does that. You don't want to be caught up in the, oh, that lily pad looks like it has fatter flies, I'm going to hop to that one, only to find they're not over there. And then to the next one. Don't do that, because that's what helps you be defeated in this business, not successful. Now, how does this all work mathematically and simply? So the most important thing that we start with, and again, I promise you it's going to get more sophisticated in the modeling when I show you the GCI goal tracker. But the most important thing here is that we go back to my anecdote about being at one of these conferences, okay? I would like to earn for the top line before splits, okay? So if you're a Griffin, basically the quick math is you're going to walk away, in the early stages of production with 2/3 of a commission, right? Thereabouts. So that we can just get off the table. Some of you might have different splits. I don't care. I just want you to say, the top line, because you're partners with the brokerage, the top line is what you want to earn. So if I were to go in there, I'm going to make this reasonable. I'm going to say, look, let's do this exercise because I did it last time and I think it was effective. I'm going to do some quick math and I'm going to compare this to a part-time job. This is a part-time business opportunity, but I'm going to compare it to a job. I'm going to say that in a part-time business or job, there's 52 weeks of the year. You're not going to work all of those, okay? You're going to get sick. You're going to take vacations. Things are going to happen. So let's assume you're going to work 4 weeks, okay? 10 months, okay? Plus or minus 44 weeks worth of work, okay? So I have 44 weeks of work. I'm going to say the option at Starbucks or my other favorite place, Whole Foods. Let's just pretend they're going to give us $20 an hour, okay? But if I want to go work part-time, let's assume I'm already working 40 hours. I can barely take much more than that, but I'm going to go 15 hours part-time. So I'm going to end up working 55 hours, and it's not terrible. There's 168 hours, okay? So you're going to work a couple of jobs. It's going to be 55 hours, and your part-time job at Starbucks or Whole Foods is going to be 15 hours, okay? So I have 15 hours. Let's just do some quick math. 15 times 20, so I'm transparent with you, is $300 a week, okay? So I'm going to make $300 a week gross before taxes, before they beat me up, because I don't think they're going to let you work less than that. So 44 weeks I'm going to work times 300, okay, is going to give me 13,200. I'm going to make $13,200 $200 part-time. Doesn't sound so sexy anymore, does it? But it's extra income on a full-time job in that case. So now all I have to do is encourage you that you can gross that first, and then we can worry about netting that so that you are not enslaved 44 weeks by a corporation to tell you where to be, what to do, and that you're locked in. There's no flexibility. You cannot work from home at Starbucks or Whole Foods, okay? But you can pretty much work from home in this business until you have to go in the field, do your open houses, show your properties, do your listing presentations. But a lot of it can be done from home, which is awesome, right? So we'll call it hybrid. So now I have 13.2 on the table. And now what I'm going to say is I'm going to go in and say, all right, here we go. I would like to earn gross commissions of 13.2. Let's just start with that. Okay. That's my gross. And I would like to sell, I'm going to use my math so I know it easily. You can plug in your math and you'll see how. I'd like to sell homes at an average price of, I'm going to use $765,000 because for me, that is the median price that we ended the year at on Cape Cod. In Boston, it's higher. It's about 1.2 and change, and the average was 1.6. That's for downtown. I limited the areas, so it's pretty high down there. But for the sake of argument, I'll use Cape Cod at 765. Okay. I will keep an average commission rate of 2.5%. I'm going to use that as the model here because I think it's achievable, right? Remember what we talked about in goal setting. So I will earn an average commission of, so we're going to take the 765 and we're going to multiply it times 0.025, move the decimal point, and I am going to get a gross commission of $19,125. Okay? $19,125 based off of one median sale on Cape Cod at 2.5%. There you go. Okay. Now I will close how many transactions? How many transactions do I need to do that? Okay. So in this case, it's going to be, we're going to take number one, which was 13.2. Okay. You're going to like this math. It's fun. And you're going to divide it by 4, divided by 19,125. And that gets me 0.69 of a deal. It's less than 1, but I want it to be exact. So I need to do 0.69, okay, of a deal at that median price and at the target commission rate of 2.5%. So I'm at one deal. I have to do one deal at the median price at a commission that's definitely achievable to beat the job at Starbucks 44 weeks at $20 an hour. And I don't know, maybe I'm light on the $20 an hour, but I could play with that math and I could goose it. Let's say they give me $25 an hour. Okay. I'm really making it. Right. And I've got $25 an hour times 15 hours equals 375. So at 375 times 44 weeks of work, which is 10 months, too much off, it's 16.5. I'm still not there. Okay. So I go to another job. I bump it by $30 an hour. Okay. I've got $30 times 15 is 450 times 44 equals 19.8. I'm finally there. Okay. I'm finally there. But don't forget to get that one deal based on that median price and that target commission, I have to go get $30 part-time. Okay. And by the way, this is all pre-tax, right? So you're going to pay taxes on this. So we're just doing that gross. I'm looking for that North Star. That's all I want. It was a gross commission goal. And so each time I'm still just barely over one deal at $30 an hour. That's 2x the 15 because it's probably, the 20. It's 2.5 times that, right? So there I am at $30 an hour, 44 weeks. I have to go out there and work all that to make 19.8. And I could have done that at one deal, 765 at a 2.5% commission, which would have given me 19,125. So I'm just right there within $700, $675, right? There I am. One deal. 44 weeks to execute a plan that I lay out in 12 weeks for you to do one deal to save yourself the hustle of doing it. Now you're saying to me, okay, well, I want to do much more than that. Okay, great. So let's take this and let's make it reasonable. Let's say that you would like to do, let's back into this time. You'd like to do 3 deals. You think it's reasonable to do 3 deals, or let's bump it up. Let's be more aggressive. You think you could do 1 deal a quarter. Every 3 months, you think you can sell something. And we're going to leave the target because sometimes you might sell above it, sometimes you might be below. We're going to say that you want to take the 19,125, and we're going to multiply that. That was 1 deal at 765 at 2.5%. We're going to say you're going to do 4 of those in a year because you really want it to be a business. You want to replace some other job that you have, or you have a certain target you want to hit. Well, that's 76,500. Okay. You want to gross for your business 76,500. Okay. And that would have been 4 of those median deals. Okay. So it's just all simple math. But what we do is we make it up and we don't understand what it takes. And we don't build it off of a reasonable number for what the market already bears. So you have to look at yourself. We'll get into this next week about how to program your brain to believe this. Now, you now know it's very possible because I did the math based on Cape Cod's median price in a very achievable commission rate, period. Okay? Period. It's achievable. You can't deny that because it's based on real data in a real marketplace. It's achievable. You don't have to believe it for yourself yet. But if you can believe the stats that are real, like don't doubt those, go poke the bear yourself and make sure, the doubting Thomas, you like poke the holes, right? And go try to figure out if this is a real based on data that comes from your multiple listing service, period. Because then you can make it your own and you can make it achievable. But I will promise you, you do 1 median deal at a reasonable number, the dopamine gets going. But now we have a North Star. If it's 1 deal in this model that I just did in this marketplace, 19,125. That's it. That's all that needs to go up there. But if it's 4, it's 76.5. It turned out to be even math here in the way that this works. So we got pretty even math. I don't love that. I like crooked numbers, but the 6 is crooked, right? 5's a little too even. So now I will go into showing you the model, okay? So I'm going to get out of this. Bear with me while I pull something up here, and then I'll open up for questions, I promise, but I just want to finish getting this to you so that you can see it. Let's find it for you. I had it opened. I'm going to share this tab instead. And please tell me that you can all see this tab. Hang on one sec. Bear with me. Tell me what you're seeing on your screen there. Okay, see this? You see the GCI goal report for the target area? Okay, wonderful. Okay, so here was something that I messed with just to show you how this works, okay? Now, one of my coaching clients who has, much bigger endeavor than the simple math that I did, that we were going through this, okay? But let's play around with this. So what we just did here was we said, okay, 4 deals, 76,500. Okay, let's put that in there. And let's say in this case, this is Sandwich area. Okay, this is a town on Cape Cod. I just left somebody who was in the Sandwich area. And so I know that it's 1,071,000 plus or minus is the average or the mean. And then it is 765. Okay. Those are real numbers. And I have the 225. And in the market area, there's, I don't know exactly in the Sandwich area, because it would be Sandwich area. I wouldn't limit it to just that town. It would be Sandwich area for the gal that just left here tonight. So if I was doing this for her, this is what I would say. Okay. So we would be in this mode. I'd want to get a real number. This doesn't affect the model, but this gets me to a point where, let's just say there's 230 deals. And remember, she's only trying to do 4. Is it reasonable to think that an agent who has a plan and goes in and knows how to prospect and nurture the prospects to become clients and to get them priced right or work with the buyer to get those 4 deals, 2 sellers, 2 buyers, 3 sellers, 1 buyer, whatever, is it reasonable? Yes. Okay. And so now the target becomes, there's my 19,125. But that's the bare minimum that I'm trying to teach. I'm saying, listen, if you'll focus on getting listings at or above 765, okay, and if you can even get one above or at the mean, now all of a sudden your model really has a range of where you're trying to stay. Now, of course, what happens, okay? What happens, and by the way, over here, as we get into this, we can start to take a look at, let me see this. Why didn't this change for me? Because we got some stuff down here. Okay, so I got to get rid of some stuff down here, right? So let me just delete some stuff. Okay, so we can actually have the model. I'm going to get rid of everything first, okay? Let me get rid of everything because in all Griffin agents, you better have one of these or you're killing yourself, right? After we just talked about all that, that's why we made this for you. So now you look at this to get 76.5. If you did all at this number above, you only need 3, okay, to hit your goal. If you do this, you only need 4. Now, what's the reality? Well, my girlfriend, she's getting divorced and it's not really working out too well for her. And, she's got to buy something and she's, a sphere of influence friend. And I ended up selling her something for $500,000, right? And it was a competitive bidding situation. So I could only get 10 grand, right? Because it was 2%. Okay. So you put some sort of a dent in it. You made 10 grand. That's better than 0 grand for your gross goal. But you see, now you're behind. You're 9 grand behind. You're 91.25 behind. So you really only did a half a deal. So we didn't put a dent in either of the numbers. But then you go out and go, oh my gosh, Danny, I went to Duxbury and I actually got that listing. And that seller, okay, was a door knock. What is he? Expired? Yeah. Okay. He's 2.5, 1, 2, 3, right? And even if you only got 2%, okay, so you got 2%, you got 50 grand. Voila, just like that. I'm down to 1. So I take care of my girlfriend who's in trouble and I get beaten up. And then I go hit a walk-off grand slam and get it sold. And I only made 2% there. I couldn't make the 2, but I was able to do it. And look at, I'm in the good. Even though I didn't get the best rate I could have gotten, I'm over the median price by 30 grand. And I'm even over the mean by 23 grand because I wasn't afraid to go call this guy, make him a unique selling proposition offer. And all of a sudden I'm down to 1 to hit my target goal, right? I only have 16.5 left. So now I go out and I do a 1, 2, 3 deal, and it's another seller, and it was a FSBO, for sale by owner, and I went out and I got myself an $800,000 deal, right? And in this case, I made, again, I got beaten up a little bit because we negotiated. He was tough, whatever the deal was. Now all of a sudden I got 16 grand because I took 2%. Okay. And then I'm almost there, right? My goal, I'm off by $500. That's all. Right? See what I'm saying? So I was off, but I'm so in the good. I'm really close on the median. I'm actually, with these 3 deals, I'm still above the median by 62.08 in 3 deals. I'm just slightly off the mean by 14. So I don't even have a full deal to go. It's just that there's no rounding here. And that's it. It's stunningly easy to understand this business when you set a simple gross financial goal. Now, again, don't worry about what you're walking away with here. Worry about this, because it's such a reasonable thing to say, don't go quit your day job at all because you can start a part-time business like this and you can be in the good. And this is how it works. Okay. All right. That is it for me tonight. I'm going to stop the lecture portion. I will open this up for a conversation here. And let's just do that. And let me get over to the Zoom. Okay, Deirdre, because you are a real person doing this real thing, and I talked about you, let's talk about the whole process of this goal setting thing. And yeah, you relate your real, your real scenario so far to them. Yep, 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 yep. Mhm. Well, again, I wouldn't even go there. I wouldn't go there until I had to go there. I wouldn't go there till I had to go there. I would just go compete, right? I would just yeah, yeah, good. Yeah, 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 it's tricky. I mean, he has an agent, right? He has an agent, and you just yeah, but you wanna make sure he's open to meeting with you. Okay. Yeah, good, good. Okay, but you're gonna call him Friday to do what? There's a system here, so tell me what your understanding of the system is. Good. Okay, so there's a very specific script. Okay, hold on. Yep, hold on. I'll put it in. Derek, by the way, what your question is, all the stuff is on the Teachable site. Okay, so the GCI goal tracker is on the Teachable site, and it should be under the measurement module. Okay, yeah, all Griffin agents, all of you should have this. Have you done one of these? Yeah, you've done one of these. Yeah, Derek is asking me from Seattle. Um, so from a script standpoint, um, I'm going to give you, Deirdre, the script. Okay. I'll show it on the screen for everybody so that we have some transparency. Yep. Right. But don't even think about it like that. You're going out to give a presentation, period. 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 And there's a process to that too. There's a seller qualifying questionnaire where you go down the list of questions before you go. And do not go into any of these houses without putting together the package of information to include the analysis and the net sheet, and then see me. Right? And if you need me, good. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. And if you need me to go with you, then you need to book me out so that the time is there. Okay. Good. Yep. That's exactly how it goes. But let's go back to package, follow up delivery. So there's a short term seller, short term follow up, seller prospect, short term. Yep. And then right after it is the long term. If they don't have you right out. Okay. But this is what you're following up with, and you're following it very, very specifically because you're going to sound like the other Sotheby's agent if you don't, right? And then it's going to be a popularity contest, right? Well, hold on, you've already sent it to him, right? You've already sent. Yeah, well, hold on. Slow your brain down because you're talking about 4 different things. Like, I know you're excited. This is what dopamine sounds like when it talks, by the way, which I love because we're both addicts to that dopamine. Slow it down and focus on him. It's a process. So just pretend we're walking along that assembly line. He is a lead. Forget that. Oh, no, hold on. You're still not listening. Slow down. He's a lead that you made an offer to send information. He accepted that. You mailed it. Do you think it's arrived yet? Okay. Okay. So you're going to wait until it arrives. Yes? Okay. Wait till it, okay. Wait. Hopefully it arrives. And then you're going to go into this script. Deirdre, it's Danny Griffin from Griffin Realty Group. I know we wanted to talk today because I sent you that information. Did you get it? Don't go into winging it. Did you get it? Because that's your benevolent Trojan horse that opens up and immediately begins to show him it's right here. It's right here. Read it. Like, really. That's how we slow down. And you're a professor. Slow down on your own syllabus, right? Because the default mechanism, like I told you, is to get excited and to attack. Just slow down and let it come to you. Did you receive it? Right? Wonderful. Now, if you didn't get it, okay, well, geez, I sent it there. I can resend it, or I'll just bring it with me. Because the last time we spoke, now, I don't know if you followed the script. Did you find out why and how motivated he was? Yeah. Okay, good. Stop. Did you get a motivated level? Because that's your okay, good. That's your discipline because you want to know what that number is. You don't want to just get excited because sometimes people expire because she's a 7 and he's an 11, right? You want to know that. Okay. So you want to clarify that when you talk to him on Friday before you go out. Now, obviously, he's motivated enough to have listed it, but did it expire because he's overpriced or what is it? Right. And then the next thing is, okay, because if you find out they're both 9s to 10s, because you're so motivated, what I'd like to do is I'd like to stop in to give you some of my insights to help you sell it. That would include tips on what to do and what not to do to get the best price, and a price analysis, including a net sheet to show you what you'd walk away with after all expenses. May I do this? You have to stick to this. Don't get drawn into something. Whoa, whoa, hold on. What are they going to ask you? I'll show you when I get there. I'll show you when I get there. I'll show you when I get there. Don't start talking about this over the phone and give your value away. You only get these 2 things when I come in. Period. Got it? Stay disciplined because you're going to and you're going to talk yourself right out of an appointment. You're going to talk yourself right back into giving it back to the agent. And I did not say give an agent a referral fee on this, by the way. That's a last ditch effort if you're going to get no love, right? Say we Yeah, well, you might not get this because he's committed to an agent, and that's part of the problem here. So you wanna go. Yeah. If you're not committed and you're open to me coming in and giving you my tips on what to do and a price analysis to include a net sheet, then I'm gonna leave you better than I found you, bare minimum. May we set that up? Just stay to this. Do not wing it. Do not wing it or you will not get in, okay? And then, great. In order to be fully prepared, I have a few questions. You need to now go to the site and download the seller qualifying questionnaire. Do not book the appointment. Okay, good. You need to ask them those questions. Okay, as painful as it is, slow down and ask them those questions. Now you have a really good setup. But you got to stick to this little formula right here, or prospects pursued run away because you have a big fish on the line. Okay. And I'm happy to go to that one with you. Cool. Good. Now tell them about the other two people that came into the open house. Yep. 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 Okay. Okay. Well, no, make an offer. Never leave it open ended like that. Always make an offer of what's next. So now what you need to do is go back and read the script for buyer follow up. Now we have more of one that's like, well, yes. Yeah, well, the buyer offer, because you're trying to help them with the buyer and sell side. There are two different sides. Let me just find. Okay. So, but you have to slow down to remember what is most important to them. Is it getting the analysis on their house to include the net sheet to see what they'd walk away with so they know what they're shopping with? If nobody's done that, that's the offer on the sell side. Okay. Then stay in that. Stay in that. So you have two opportunities to do this exact same thing, but stay in this. Listen, I know you want me to come out, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come out and I'm going to give you tips on what to do and what not to do to get the best price. But I'm also going to do an analysis of what's sold around you to include a net sheet so you see what you walk away with. So not only do you know what to do to sell your house, you'll know what you're shopping with. May we set that up? Yes, good. I have a few questions that I want to ask you because when I come out, I want to be fully prepared. Seller qualifying questionnaire. One, two, three. Every single time. Do not cheat it. Slow down when you talk to him so you know what you're offering him, right? No, it doesn't. No, oh, stop. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. All it has is information. It has and you're all over the place again. We're back to buy side. Let's just stay on the sell side. When you give somebody a seller package, it includes pictures and details of properties that sold around theirs, a little above their value, a little below. And how do you get that when it's not an expired? You go to Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, you get kind of an idea of the range it would be in. So you print pictures and details of properties a little above his estimate, a little below his estimate. Okay. Those are the pictures and details. He gets a one-page statistical market update for all of the Cape, and he gets a copy of the seller plan. It is nothing more than information. There is no comparable analysis. Nothing that doesn't happen. Yes, hold on. That's all you're doing. On the buy side, the only thing that changes is that you are giving them some actives in this price range. But it's the same thing because we're in the open house. So the only thing we can do, the same thing for seller or buyer. We give both of them the solds around that house they're coming into. That's it. Right, but you're gonna customize it for his place because this wasn't his place. But you're confusing the buy side and the sell side. Stop, focus on the sell side. Tell me what's in the seller package. I just repeated it to you. What goes in the seller package? What's his address? Here, let's play a game. What's his address? We'll go a little overtime tonight. What's his address? No, no, no. The guy you're talking about. Yep. Watch, we'll play the game. I'm going to share my screen. Hang on. Tell me that you all can see my screen, okay? Okay, hang on. Hang on 1 second. I need to get the window open. Okay, 69. 2 words. 2 words or one? Come on, what's going on here? Okay, here it is. So here's what you do. So now you got Zillow, you got Realtor.com, and you got Redfin. They're all going to have an algorithmic approach. Redfin's going to give you the most conservative one, okay? So Redfin says it's 562-ish, but 535 to 636 range. So you got a 562 range, okay? You got that one. Now you come back in here and you go, all right, let's just take a Realtor.com is going to give us 3 models. So we can go down and we can say, okay, let's go down here because they give you 3 different models. They're 569, 555, and they don't have the third one. So we're kind of in that 565 range. That's what's sounding consistent. If I want to do this, I go back to Zillow and I do the Zillow, and that's 520. So I'm somewhere between 520, 560, right? So now you're going to do solds around him. You're just going to start with the information. So when you go into MLS, you're going to look at a radius for condos first. Then you can look at just, condos in a price range. You go down to 480 and up to 575, something like that, or 600. So now all you have is solds. That's all you have. There's no comparable. There's nothing comparable. There's nothing comparable until you do. Yes, but you go back and look at what's sold. Hold on. You go back and look at what's sold. Okay? You can go back 24 months. If you're going to do just his condo association, go back 24 months, then you can be very specific about the association. But in general, what does a condo, what do you get for a condo in that greater area? And you might have to go out further. So I'm going to stop it there. That's the information you're putting together. That's it. Don't make more of it than that. And then there's the analysis, which you can learn how to do in a 17-minute video, or you can get with Laura, and Laura, good. And then you can get with Laura. And if you want to spend 20 bucks, we have somebody who'll do it for you. That's an analysis. Then the net sheet. So it starts with just information, but never, ever, ever, ever give them the analysis and the net sheet unless you are in the house with them. Never, never, because that is your value of being there. Okay? Follow? It's the same. Yes. Yeah, you have all the yeah, exactly. Right, but now just execute on it. You have to execute on it, right? Good. Bravo. Good job. You're off. Yeah. Just slow your brain down though, and always remember there's 2 different sides. They're two different sides, and what's most important to them first, and then go back to the other education. You start with the seller, show them what they walk away with. This is what you walk away with. That's what you'll have to put down or buy with, right? Okay. Okay, cool. Uh, you will. No, you're already there. You have real deals you're dealing with. These are real deals, right? But if you don't slow down, you will be your own problem, right? So make sure you slow down because it's a system. It's not winging it, and then you'll be disappointed to have all these fish on the line and you scare them away by not staying professional, right? Good. Bravo. Really good start. Yep. I'd rather reel you in than cattle prod you to get going. So good for you. Yep. Any questions tonight before we wrap? I went a little OT because we had a good anecdote there. Questions, thoughts? If not, that's all she wrote. Okay. Thanks for being here live. We'll see you guys and gals on the next time we do this, but appreciate everybody. Thank you, Deidre, to you especially. Awesome for being in the hot seat. Okay. You're welcome. Bye bye. Good night. Yep. You betcha. Bye.